Hello, my name is Jennifer Harrison. I'm the coordinator of the ARC of New Jersey's Sexual Violence Prevention Project. And thank you so much for coming today to this webinar about sexual feelings, attraction, and acts. It's very important to understand our feelings so they don't frighten us, so we know how to handle them, and also to live a full life. I mean, sexuality is part of life for all of us. This coincides with lesson 5 of the homosexuality education curriculum, which you can find on our website. You can watch this along with studying the curriculum. You can watch this instead of reading the curriculum. You can read the curriculum without this, but they do supplement each other. It's just a fun way to sort of repeat and reinforce, which is so important. Repeat, reinforce. That's how we learn. That's how things become part of a vocabulary and our lives. So let us begin. Very quickly, we'll be playing games where I'm going to ask you for your answer, or you may come up with questions or comments on your own. If you look at the bottom, there's a little chat button. You can just click that and type in your answer, your question, your comment, your concern, whatever it is, and I'll address it. So what are we going to learn today? Well, we'll talk about recognizing sexual feelings so we understand what's going on in our minds and our bodies. We'll talk about sexual contact, what that means. We'll talk about sexual orientation. If you want to zoom over that part of things, you can feel free to fast forward, but we're just going to touch on some of the names, some of the different ways we can label ourselves and our feelings. Sexual feelings and relationships. We'll talk about consent and non-consent. The most important thing, absolutely. And not just with regards to sexuality, but in life, getting other people's consent before we do anything to or with them, whether or not it's sexual, is so important. It's a matter of respect. It's a matter of honoring people's boundaries, and they should learn it too, so they honor and respect our boundaries. It's a way of keeping safe. Communication, very important, how to communicate our feelings, especially sexual feelings. There's an appropriate way and a less appropriate way. Sexual decision making, also very important. We find ourselves in situations where we have decisions to make. And how do we make those decisions? How do we know that we're making the right one? So we'll go through that process. Standing up to pressure, we all need to learn how to do that. And finally, I will list some role plays and activities that you could do at home, again, to repeat and reinforce the lessons. The more you do them, the more part of our lives they become. Yay! And we'll play some games. Always have to keep it fun. Just a little content information, and then I promise we'll start. Today we'll be talking about sex and what leads to sex, our feelings, interactions, and decision making. And again, we'll also discuss gender identity and sexual orientation. Now, we're not going to be talking about how sex works, the operation itself. So to learn about sexual intercourse, if you're ready, if you're curious, you can watch our reproduction and contraception webinar in the archives. All of our webinars are archived. Or read lesson 6 in the homosexuality education curriculum at www.thearcsvpp, Sexual Violence Prevention Project.org. Now let's begin. We're ready. Okay. There are different types of feelings. There are romantic feelings. That is the desire for romantic contact or interaction with another person. So what does this entail? How do you know you don't just like the person as a friend and want to spend time with them? Well, the way you want to spend time with people you have romantic feelings for is different than if you just want to be friends. The way you often want to spend time with people you feel romantically toward is kissing, hugging, discussing love, saying, I love you. You're beautiful, you're wonderful. Commitment, maybe getting married, moving in together, dating exclusively, saying, I want to be your boyfriend, girlfriend, partner. Or passion, just having a passion for that person. Those are examples of some of your romantic feelings. Now, these may come with sexual feelings too, but they don't have to. Sometimes you can just love a person, want to be with them for the rest of your life, and sex is not of interest to you or to either one of you. And that's okay. Romantic feelings are different. So, what are sexual feelings? Well, that's the desire to have sex or sexual contact. So see, they're in bed and they've had sexual contact. Now, sexual feelings may also come with romantic feelings, but they don't have to. Sometimes you're just very attracted to someone and you want to have sex with them or sexual contact, but you don't necessarily want to spend the rest of your life with them. So these are two different kinds of feelings. Before we continue, we need to learn a phrase. Phrase alert. It is sexual contact. See, I wasn't going to leave you hanging and just mention it, not explain it. What is sexual contact? Well, sexual contact is the intentional, meaning you meant to do this, you wanted to do it, touching of sexual body parts like the breasts, penis, vagina, or butt, whether over clothing, under clothing, or without clothing. So when you touch someone's sexual body parts that I just mentioned, and you meant to do it, it's not like you were going to grab the, sugar bowl and you accidentally hit somebody. That's just an accident. But sexual contact is intentional. Now, to learn about these sexual body parts that I just mentioned, we won't get into it here. That's not what you're here for. But you can watch our human development webinar in the archives or read lesson 4 in the home sexuality education curriculum at thearcsvpp.org. These are going to be coming up a lot today because I'm going to be mentioning things that we don't necessarily want to get very involved in. But if you and your student or your child or whoever you're with right now is interested in learning more, we do cover it in other webinars and in the curriculum. So we can have sexual contact with ourselves because we have these sexual body parts too, right? That we can touch. And we do that by touching our own private parts. What are the private parts? Without listing them again, they're basically the ones that our bathing suit covers. So think about when you go to the beach or the pool and you wear a bathing suit. What's it covering? Those parts are your sexual parts or your private parts. See? They're covering the breasts on the women and then the vagina or the penis and the butt. Or we can have sexual contact with other people. We can touch them or they can touch us. However, and this is a very big however, so before you run out and touch somebody, let's talk about this. And that brings us to the most important word of all. Word alert. It is consent. So consent is an agreement to do something or permission for something to happen. What's an agreement? It's when both people want the same thing, okay? One person wanting something is not enough. You both have to want it if it's going to be consent and you're going to do something together. So both people have to want to do it. Both people have to understand what it is they'll be doing. If I say, do you want to go Babalu? You can't really consent to that because what does that mean? Tell me what it means and I'll tell you if I want to do it. So you both have to really understand what it is that you're agreeing to. Both people have to be awake and aware. Nobody can be drunk. Nobody can be asleep. Nobody can be on cough medicine that makes them fuzzy. You have to be alert and understand what's going on. And both people have to happily, enthusiastically, you really want to do it, clearly and knowingly express a yes. So even if you're happy about it, you're excited, but you're completely silent and you don't give a thumbs up, you don't do anything, you haven't consented. You have to make it known. Yes, I really, really, really want to do this. Why am I talking about consent? Because, and we're probably going to go over this in the next slide, but I need to say it now. We do not touch anybody else, and they do not touch us without consent. Okay, so you have to give permission for someone to touch you on your private parts, and someone has to give you permission before you can touch them. So you can touch yourself in private, in a place where you can close the door, close the shades, no one can see or hear you. And that's fine because you consent to what you want. But with another person, there must be consent. We'll go over this a lot today and throughout the curriculum. And if one person changes their mind at any time, you both have to stop. So if you say, can I touch you? And they say yes, and you are moving toward them. You are moving toward them across the room, or you're actually starting to touch them. They can take their consent away at any time and say, stop, I changed my mind. My answer is no, no more. And you must stop. Even if you've been touching them for 3 hours at this point, 3 days at this point, when someone says stop or no, or pushes you away, or takes away their consent in any other way, you stop. Same with when someone's touching you. You can stop it anytime you want. So, in a nutshell, excuse me, consent is mutual. Mutual means both of you feel it. Both of you are agreeing. See how they're shaking hands, smiling, looking at each other? It's mutual. It's happy. You want to do it. You don't do it because they asked you to, they made you feel bad that you wouldn't, or they offered to give you something maybe. You have to want to do the act in order to give consent. It's clear. It's not being silent, looking around, shrugging, I don't know. It's yes. Say the word, thumbs up, smile, nod, lean in, whatever it is, but it's got to be clear. Same with the person you're with, right? You have to know that they're saying yes. Awake and informed. This guy is very awake and informed. He knows exactly what's going on. And ongoing, meaning you can take it away at any time. And you can also not take it away if you like it. So you need to make sure that the yes remains a yes. And it's a yes with every new thing you do. And both people have to be over the age of 16 in New Jersey. So someone under 16 cannot consent. Even if the sexual feelings are so strong, you really, really, really want to do this. We can never, ever, 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 ever touch someone else without consent. And even if the sexual feelings are so strong, they can never, ever, 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 ever touch us without consent. Now, this is your body, and you can say no. Now, to learn more about consent, in case we haven't gone over it enough, and it's never enough, repeat, reinforce, repeat, reinforce. But you can watch our It's All About Consent webinar in the archives, or you can read lesson 3 in the home sexuality education curriculum at thearcsvpp.org. We talk about consent from lesson 3 onward. It's always mentioned, but we really explain and introduce it in lesson 3. So you can always start there. So consent. Giving it. How do you give consent? Well, you give consent when you know what you'll be doing, you understand it, you make sure you want to do it. Nobody made you do it, or you didn't feel like you kind of had to. You really wanted to. And remember your enthusiastic yes. You have to feel like if somebody said, do you want to go to a party, a really fun party? Do you want to go to an amusement park or the theater or run through the grass? Whatever it is you love to do, that's the feeling you want to have. That's enthusiasm. So when you say yes, you want to feel that feeling of, yeah, I really want to do that. And if you don't feel that feeling, don't give your consent, because you want to make sure that it's something that aligns with who you are. Not giving consent. How do we not give consent? It's difficult to say no to people. You want to be clear and assertive. What does that mean? It means a firm voice. You might slow down your voice, maybe speak a little bit more loudly. You don't have to yell. You're not angry, but you want to speak very clearly so they understand. And eye contact. See how I've been looking into the camera this whole time? If I were talking like this, you might not even know I was talking to you. So you want to look straight at the person and very firmly, but calmly say, no, or I don't want to do this. No, thank you. Not today. However you want to phrase it. You can even do that or shake your head no. But it's got to be very clear, very clearly expressed. You want to be kind, obviously, because it never feels good to be told no. So it's not, no, I don't like you, I would never date you, something like that. That would hurt their feelings. So you can be kind about it. No, not today. I'm not there, whatever it is. But you don't have to apologize. It's not, I'm really sorry, but I don't want to. You do not have to apologize, because you have the right to say no, and you have the right not to want to do something. And feel proud about speaking up for how you feel and for what you want and need, because that's a really great thing to do. It can be a hard thing to do, but it's very adult, it's very grown up, and it's very responsible. And anytime we say, I'm going to honor my feelings, that's something to be proud of. You've done something really nice for yourself, and that's something to be proud of for sure. Consent, getting consent. What happens when you get consent? Well, if your partner doesn't let you know for sure that they want to do something, if you just find yourselves doing it, you can stop and ask, is this okay? Does this feel okay? Can I continue? Can I touch you here? Things like that. You can ask them along the way in case they're like, oh, am I allowed to say no? I didn't know about consent. So you can teach others consent. Be specific about what you're asking for. if you say, do you want to go up to my room? Well, if they say yes, they're saying yes to going up to your room, not anything else that goes on in there. So be very specific about what you want to do and only do what you said you would do. So if you want to do something else, can I put my hand on your leg? Yes, yes, you can. Great, you got consent. That doesn't give you the right to then touch them anywhere or for them to touch you anywhere. You have to ask, is this still okay? Things like that. Now, here's a big one. Not getting consent. If you ask someone, can I touch you? Can I kiss you? Can I hug you? Sometimes they're going to say no. They will not give you consent. Another word for that is rejection. And it feels terrible. It does. Everybody feels terrible when it happens. However, first of all, you have to stop immediately. If they say no, you stop. It doesn't matter if you really want to. It doesn't matter if you've done it before with them. It doesn't matter if you're in the middle of doing it with them. If they take away their consent, it ends. Don't ask again. It's not, hey, do you feel like it now? Do you feel like it now? Do you feel like it now? No. No means no. And the first no is the only no. So you don't ask again if someone said no. But here's the important part. Well, it's all important, but here's another important part. Don't take it personally if someone says no, right? People have a lot of reasons for not wanting to do something. It doesn't mean you're not lovable. It doesn't mean you're not attractive. It doesn't mean you're not a good kisser or anything like that. You don't know why they're saying no, but it's okay. We want to honor it and know that there are probably hundreds of people that do want to do these things with us. And so it's okay. You're with one person who said no. So let's play a game. We're going to come back to the idea of rejection a little bit later because it can be hard, and we've all experienced it. So let's play a game. Does this look like consent? Does she look like if you asked her, can I hug you? Does this look like she's giving consent? You can type this in the chat if you want. Excuse me. That winter cold. Okay, no, someone said this does not look like consent. No, she doesn't look like she's sure about what she wants to say, or maybe she doesn't understand what you'll be doing. But this is not an enthusiastic yes, right? She doesn't look like, she's ready to run down the street, laughing and singing. So that is not consent. Does this look like consent? Does the person on the right with the black hair look like he's consenting? That's a bigger question because there are two people. Let's see. Someone said no. Yeah, that's not consent. He looks surprised. His eyes are wide open. His eyebrows are up. And his body language, it shows he doesn't want to kiss her back, right? He's leaning back. He's not touching her. He doesn't have his hands on her back or her waist. He's just sort of like, whoa. That is not informed consent at all. So she needs to stop. And honestly, she shouldn't have done it in the first place. If anybody grabs you like that and kisses you, you end it, right? Because that is not consent. Does this look like consent? Do they look like they're on board for whatever? People are writing yes. Yeah, they look like they're very clear. They're very happy. They're smiling. He's giving a thumbs up. She's giving 2 thumbs up. And they seem to be agreeing because they're doing the same thing. They're both very happy about this. So that looks like consent. What about him? He looks like he's at work or about to get a massage, something. I don't know. But does he look like he's ready to consent? No, he's not even awake. And remember, one of the characteristics of consent is it's given while you're awake and alert. And this man is not awake, nor is he alert. So that is not consent, and no one should touch him. Does this look like consent? Yeah. They both look very, very happy. They're looking into each other's eyes. They're both leaning in. This looks like consent to me. However, if one of them said, no, never mind, I don't want to, consent has been taken away. Does this look like consent? This may be a trick. So let's see if you catch on. Someone wrote yes. Now it looks like consent, right? Because he's smiling, he's got his hand up. But this is a little boy. He's definitely not 16 yet. We can see in his face and his body, he's a little kid. He cannot consent. So even though he's really enthusiastic, it's a no. What about this? Is he consenting? No, she's pressuring him, right? Another word for that is coercion. And she's bothering him with it. She's clearly asking again and again. She's whining. She's maybe making him feel bad. And he's like, that is not consent. You ask once, and if they're not enthusiastic, then you don't ask again. Now, they may turn around and say, ooh, you know what? I thought about it again. I would like to. And then they can give their consent, and that's great. Then you decide if you want to give your consent. You might not be there anymore. Who knows? But on your knees, whining, not getting consent. Okay, before we continue, we're going to learn another phrase. You may hear other voices. It's kind of a busy office, so I'll try to outshout people. Phrase alert. It is sexual orientation. What is sexual orientation? Well, it's who you are sexually attracted to, may fall in love with, or may have sexual contact with. So it's the people you're attracted to emotionally and physically. That's your sexual orientation. Put it like this. This is how I taught it to my kids when they were little. When we read fairy tales, right? Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty, even though she was asleep and he kissed her, no consent, but we'll get back to that. The prince and the princess usually fall in love at the end, which is beautiful. But in real life, not in fairy tales, the prince sometimes falls in love with another prince. And a princess could be attracted to another princess, or the prince and the princess don't have romantic feelings and decide just to be friends. And it's all okay. We love who we love. And if we don't feel any romantic feelings, and maybe we don't feel any sexual feelings, that's okay too. Asexuality, meaning you don't feel sexual feelings, that is a form of sexual orientation. So all of it is healthy, all of it is normal, all of it is okay. I'm going to go through a few examples of sexuality. So there's heterosexual. Some people call it being straight. People who are attracted to the opposite gender. So boys who are attracted to girls and girls who are attracted to boys. The prince and the princess, right? That's heterosexual. Homosexual is also called gay. People who are attracted to the same gender. So boys who are attracted to boys and girls who are attracted to girls. We might call girls who are attracted to girls lesbian or gay. But that's homosexual. Bisexual, you're attracted to both boys and girls, no matter who you are. There is pansexual, and that means you're just attracted to all people, or not all people, but it doesn't matter what their gender is. You love the person. Some people say, I like the perfume, not the bottle. And it just means it's important who they are inside, and you don't care if they have a male body or a female body or any kind of body. Asexual, I just explained, people who do not experience sexual attraction. It exists. It could be a reason that you get non-consent, who knows? But it's perfectly normal to not have sexual feelings. Not everybody does. Aromantic. Those are people who don't feel romantic attraction. So they might have sexual feelings, but they don't want to have a commitment. They don't want to have a partner. They don't want to give flowers and walk hand in hand in the field. That's okay. And then, okay, here are a lot of letters. LGBTQIA+. It's also known as queer. That used to be a bad word. It used to be really insulting to call someone that, but the community has actually adopted it again and proudly call themselves queer, and that's great. So it's a term for people who are not heterosexual, okay? So they don't only like people of the opposite gender. It refers to the entire non-heterosexual community. So if you are pansexual, bisexual, asexual, aromantic, anybody who's queer is part of the LGBTQIA+ community. Queer is a lot easier to say. And that's the symbol for it. It's the rainbow. Because we are all different colors. We are all different people. And together we make something beautiful. So I think the rainbow is very appropriate. On a side note, to fully understand sexual orientation, it's important to learn about gender identity too, because boy and girl don't necessarily refer to our bodies, but they refer to who we feel like inside, which is gender. Very confusing. If you would like to learn about it, you can watch the Human Development webinar in our archives, or read Lesson 4, Anatomy and Physiology, in the Home Sexuality Education curriculum at thearcsvpp.org. Commercial over. Okay, so everyone has their own sexual orientation, even if it's being asexual, right? And only we can decide who we love. We can't make somebody love someone they don't. We can't change that. So let's embrace it. Let's accept who we are and who we love and celebrate it. It's our right to love whomever we love. It is a law that we have the right to love whomever. And so there's no need to be ashamed, and there's no need to try to change, because it's something to be really proud of. It's part of who you are. All these different kinds of people, right? As long as they're older than 16 and they consent. Let's never forget consent. So you can love whoever you want, whomever you want, as long as they consent and they're over the age of 16. It's all good. This man is very much over the age of 16. Okay, sexual feelings and relationships. What do we do if we have romantic or sexual feelings for someone? Well, we often sit and we think about them, but what if we actually want to maybe try to date them, ask them out? Let's see. This guy has got it for that other guy. Let's see. Well, introduce yourself. It's a great way to start. You have to meet them, right? You can't fall in love if you don't know each other. So start a conversation. Begin with, hi, my name is, and say your name. I see you're reading that book. Is it good? Or, it's a beautiful day, isn't it? I'd love to go for a walk. Do you like going for walks? Whatever it is, find out about them. Ask them questions. It's good for them to get to know you, but you want people to know that you're interested in them as a person too. So don't forget to ask questions, even if it's, yeah, I'm a singer. I love to sing. Do you love to sing? Who are your favorite singers? What do you like to do? So keep it Keep it mutual, right? You're both involved. And see if you have things in common, because they might say, I do sing. In fact, I'm going right now to karaoke. Great. It's an opening. So the more you have in common, that's the more you have to talk about. Look at the person's body language. What is body language? Well, it's the way we let others know what we think and feel without words. So instead of saying, I'm really upset, sometimes it's looking down, it's shaking your head, it's rubbing your head. So you can see that someone's upset. That's body language. It's using your body and your face to communicate. So let's see. Is the person in the yellow pants, do we think they're interested in the person in the green shirt? I'm going to say probably not, right? They're leaning back. They're standing kind of far away. There's a lot of space between them. They're even frowning. Their eyebrows are down a little bit. So if you approach somebody and they look like this when they're talking to you, you might not even want to ask them out, because their body language, they're giving you cues like, I'm not going to consent to going out with you or anything. But what about this? I'm going to say they're probably interested. Why? Well, good eye contact, right? She's looking right back into the other person's eyes, standing pretty close, right? A lot closer than the other person. She seems to be smiling. I mean, she's not really smiling, but it's a pleasant look. And she's mirroring the body language. What does that mean? She's standing a lot like the other person is standing. So if you're talking with someone and you put your hand on your hip and they say something back and they put their hand on their hip, it's a little cue in body language that maybe they like you. So great, maybe try saying, what are you doing this weekend? If you're free, do you want to go for coffee? Whatever it is. And I got here too soon, but maybe ask them out on a date. They both look very happy. So if the body language is good, you can ask them if they'd like to go out, if they're free. Be specific. Don't just say, do you want to go out sometime? Because then it's going to be great. See you around. And you don't know when or where you're meeting, and it's almost like you didn't make plans. So be specific. Saturday, I was thinking of going for ice cream around 2:00. Do you want to come? Can I take you to ice cream at 2:00 on Saturday? And then they know what they're saying yes or no to. If they say yes, get their phone number so you can text them or call them or FaceTime them, however you decide to talk. But don't let them go away without knowing how to get in touch with them. If they say no, if they say, I'm already dating someone, or no, thanks, I really can't, or I have work to do, whatever it is. If it's not a yes, be polite. I understand, no worries. Okay, thought I'd ask. And then you move on. Then you keep your eyes open. And if you really, really want to go out with someone right away, well, then you can ask someone else who you like. And if you're not interested in someone else at that moment, just wait, it'll come. But again, it's only one person. So let's just talk about rejection for a moment. Nobody likes to be turned down. Nobody likes to be told no. We feel disappointed, and sometimes we think it's about us, right? We're not good enough. No one's ever going to love us. But that's not the case. It's really not the case. And I'll show you an example. This is an ice cream cone, a strawberry ice cream cone. Looks perfect to me. And it's cold, and it's delicious, and it's fresh, and the cone isn't even broken. That is a perfect specimen of an ice cream cone. But This guy does not want it because he can't eat dairy. So if you say, do you want this ice cream cone? He might say, no. This girl is in the middle of a workout, and so she can't eat right now or she won't feel well. So she's going to say, oh, no, thanks, but no. And this guy is allergic to strawberries. So if he eats this ice cream, he's going to get hives all over his face, right? So all three of these people have said no to that perfectly beautiful ice cream cone for their own reasons. That has nothing to do with how good the ice cream is. It's just not for them. Are there a million other people who would take that ice cream cone? Yes, I am one of them. In fact, getting a little hungry right now. And it's only 9 a.m. So I'll have to wait for my ice cream. But let's remember, when somebody says no to something or to you, it's not because you're not good enough. It's not because you're not wonderful. It's because you're not for them at this moment or maybe ever. And that's okay. One person. There are people who would love to go out with you. And that's the truth. My mother always said there's a lid for every pot. And I think that's a good way to look at it. Sometimes there are a lot of lids for a pot. Speaking as someone who can never find the right lid. Literally. Okay, let's play a game. True or false? So you're going to type true or false into the chat. Everybody with a penis is a boy. Is that true or is that false? We didn't really go over this, but it's false. So your gender, remember we talked about that before? It has nothing to do with your body. If you have a penis or a vagina, it's how you feel inside. So just because someone even might look like someone we consider a good specimen of a boy, they may not be because they feel like something else. True or false? You do not need to consent to kiss someone if you've already kissed them before. Like maybe they're even married, right? She got her chewing gum on his face. Do you need consent? Yeah, that's false. You need consent every time you want to do something sexual, and a kiss is sexual, even if it's as a friend. It's still personal enough. It's intimate. It's in their space, right? So you need to get consent before you ever kiss someone. And people need to get consent from you. And if you don't want to kiss, whether it's your partner or your best friend or your uncle who wants to kiss you hello, you don't have to kiss anyone you don't want to. So you can give consent or non-consent. True or false? A boy can love a boy. Yeah, that's true. We have the right to love. Ooh, should be whomever we love. That was me. That was my fault. But yeah, a boy can love a boy, a girl can love a girl, a boy can love a girl can love a boy, and all the other genders that there are. True or false? Women need long hair and to wear dresses. Right. False. You can express yourself to the world however you want. She's a girl. She told me she identifies as a girl and she dresses like this, short hair, collar, biker jacket, jeans, white t-shirt. I'm wearing a white t-shirt actually. You can be a boy and wear that. You can be a girl and wear that. You can be, gender non-conforming, meaning you don't even have a gender and wear that. You wear what you want to wear because that's how you express yourself. True or false? When you ask someone out on a date, they may say no. Could that happen? Yeah, true. They could say no, no, thank you, not today. And that's okay. Be polite, say, okay, or I understand, or fair enough. move on. There are other people out there, and open your heart to someone else you might like, or take a moment. And you don't have to run out and date someone else. Sometimes we kind of have to get over our feelings for that person who said no, and that's perfectly fine. You will get over it. We've all had that happen. So, sexual decision making. How do you know if you want to have sexual contact with someone? Deciding whether or not to have sexual contact is a big deal. So it's important to think first. And I'm going to give you some tips on what to think about. Not do I, don't I, do I, don't I? You could think that, for the next 6 years. So we'll think about ways that we can make really smart decisions for what's right for us. So she's thinking about it. First, think about your boundaries. What are boundaries? Well, boundaries are like little fences that we can't see, but we know they're there, right? And they kind of block off the parts of us that we don't want people touching or looking at. So we put boundaries around things we don't want touched, like, please don't touch my hair. That's like the boundary. Now, you don't get a real red circle around it, red oval around it, but that's what it feels like. This part, I don't want anybody coming to, so I want it blocked off. And you tell people, please don't touch my hair. I don't like that feeling. Please don't touch my knee. That's where the boundary is. Please don't touch my breasts, right? That's a private part. So it's like you have a boundary around it. And so no one should touch that. They're not going to see it. So we have to tell them, I don't like you touching me here. Don't touch me here. Please don't touch my hamster. Don't touch him. I don't want anyone touching my hamster. That is actually also a boundary. It doesn't have to be part of your body. You're allowed to say who does and doesn't come in contact with anything of yours. You can also say, I don't want to see pictures of flowers. I don't know why you wouldn't want to, but if you don't want to, you could say, I have a boundary. I don't like it. I don't feel well when I look at pictures of flowers. That is a boundary around what you see. Please don't yell near me. I don't like loud noises. They upset me. That's a boundary around what you hear. And people won't know that's your boundary unless you tell them. Now, will everyone tell us their boundaries? No. A lot of people don't know they're even allowed to. So you can always ask, like, can I put my hand on your knee? Is that okay if I do this right now? And they can say, ooh, no, I don't like that. Or sure, that's fine. So that's a good way to find out other people's boundaries, but we don't just grab them. Take a minute, or maybe after this webinar is done, or you can pause me, but what are your boundaries? Did you ever think about that? When you're making sexual decisions, you want to think about your boundaries. What do you and don't you want touched? What do you and don't you want someone to do to you, or for you to do to them? These are all your boundaries, and you need to think about them. Okay, think about your values. What are values? Values are the things we care about that guide our attitudes and actions. That sounds big. Basically, they're the things that matter to us. They're the things that mean something to us. Sex can affect the way we care about, and they can affect the things we care about, and the things our family, our culture, and our faith care about. So these are a lot of values to think about before we go into having sex. Like, I care about my family. I value my family. What do they think about sex? What do they think about my having sex and having it now? That might be something to think about. I care about my religion. I care about my faith. Does having sex go against what that teaches? And if it does that make me not want to do it? Or is it not a factor? Do I not, would it not stop me from doing it? I care about my culture, my home culture or my ethnicity, my, where I come from. What does my culture say about sex? Are we people who have sex before marriage? Are we people who have sex with someone we're not in a committed relationship with? I don't know, but that's something for you to think about. And I have my own opinions about having sex. What do I care about? Do I want to be someone who's had sex now? And the answer may be, yeah, I do. I feel good about it. Or it might be, I'm not sure, so I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to wait until I am sure. But that's what we get by thinking about our values. Again, you can pause me right now, or you can talk about this after, but think about what your values are. What really means the most to you in your life? If you had to protect something, what would that something be? What's the first thing you would protect? That's probably your value. Finally, the third thing to think about when we're making sexual decisions, you think about the consequences. What are consequences? Well, they're things that happen as a result of something else. I'm going to explain. So a consequence of cheating on a test is getting in trouble. If you cheat on a test, you can get in trouble. That is the consequence of cheating. So cheating causes trouble. Okay? We're going to talk about consequences again, just so you get it. A consequence of dancing in the rain is getting wet, right? So dancing in the rain causes you to get wet. Well, sex can cause things too. So we need to think about what it can cause and see how important it is to us to avoid that thing, such as, will having sex change my relationship? Will we think about each other differently? Will it make it uncomfortable? Will it suddenly become too intense and too close? Will I get an infection? There are infections that you can get from having sex with someone who has that infection. There are ways to avoid it. I'm going to tell you how to learn more about this if you want to, but it is or can be a consequence of sex. Will I regret it? Meaning, will I have sex and then afterwards think, I shouldn't have done that. I didn't want to do that. I didn't really think about my values and my boundaries, and now I feel bad. So that is a possible consequence. We need to think about that. Will I feel like that if I have sex? Will it cause a pregnancy? Will it make a baby? That is how babies are made, is through sex. We won't get into how right now. To learn about consequences of sex, you can watch our What Happens After Sex webinar in the archives, or read lesson 7 in the home sexuality education curriculum at www.thearcsvpp.org. And you can learn about what can happen if you have sex, including infection and pregnancy. Okay, let's play a game. Let's reinforce. Should I have sex? We're going to help these people make their decisions by thinking about values, boundaries, and consequences. This man said, I value my faith, okay, my religion. My faith says I should not have sex before marriage. So do we think he should have sex if he cares about his faith and his faith says you should not have sex until you're married? No one? Well, I'm going to say probably not, because you should think about how you might feel afterward and how much your faith means to you. So if you really value your faith, you might be upset if you do something that it frowns upon. You may not, but it's important to think about before you make the decision. I want to have a baby soon, she says. And a consequence of having sex is possibly getting pregnant, meaning making a baby. So should she have sex? Well, maybe. I mean, if you believe you're ready to get pregnant, then that consequence certainly shouldn't stop you, right? If you'd be happy to be pregnant and you say, I could take care of a baby, I have a support system, I make enough money, I have the time, then that shouldn't stop you. However, always talk to your partner before trying to get pregnant. Again, that is something that requires consent. So your partner needs to want to make a baby too, if you decide you want to make a baby. This person says, I don't like the idea of someone touching me when I don't even know if I'll like the feeling. So this is about boundaries. She doesn't even know if she has a boundary around her private parts, and she's worried that she won't like it. So should she go forward and have sex? Probably not. Thinking about it and talking with your partner, your boyfriend, your girlfriend will help you know when you are comfortable. If this is the case, you might want to try touching yourself to see if you like the feeling. But I probably wouldn't jump into having sex if you have boundaries that make you not want to be touched. This guy says, I value love. I want to make sure that when I have sex, it will be right. It'll feel right. I may even want to wait until marriage. Well, then probably don't have sex until you're in love, at least, or married. Thinking more and talking with your partner will help make things clearer. But don't give up what you believe. It's important to you. So if you say, I think I want to wait until marriage, and your partner says, I do not want to wait until marriage, I want to do it right now, that's when you say, how much does my value matter to me? If not so much, you might say, okay, I'll do it now. I'm pretty enthusiastic. But if you say, I don't know, I really always wanted to wait until marriage, you do what's right for you. Okay. Sex is a big decision. So there's no need to rush into it. It'll always be there when you want it. Let's talk about pressure. Pressure, pressure, pressure. Pressuring someone to have sex or sexual contact is never okay. They shouldn't do it to you, and you shouldn't do it to someone else. That means asking and asking and asking. It means making them feel guilty. I bet someone else would do it. Now I feel like you don't love me. Or threatening you with, then I'm leaving, or I'm going to go out with someone else. All of that is pressure, and it's not appropriate, it's not okay, and it's actually a form of sexual violence. So it's never okay to pressure someone or be pressured. One no is the only no. I said that before. If someone says no, you don't ask them 5 more times. You don't ask them with a pretty please in front of it. You don't offer to give them a bracelet if they do it. If they say no, they are not giving you consent and you accept it. Okay, I understand. I'm fine with it. One no. Okay, so now we have discussions and role plays for home. Remember, repeat, reinforce, repeat, reinforce. If you find you have some extra time or you want to do something together, you can look at this list that I'm about to bring up, and it's a great way to practice these while having fun. So here are different discussions and role plays. I'm not going to read them. You don't want to hear my voice anymore, I'm sure. So here comes my favorite icon. They're holding their camera up. You can take a picture of this screen right now and keep it on your phone or print it out. You can put it on the refrigerator. So you can always refer back to it and say, hey, you want to talk about this? Let's talk about consent a little bit. Or let's do a role play and see how we would make decisions. You can also go through this webinar again in the archive. You can either watch the whole thing, you can watch it 15 times if you want, or you can fast forward to this page, to this slide, and refer back to the examples of discussions and role plays. There are also a lot of discussions, role plays, and worksheets in the home curriculum. So thank you for consenting to join us today. Why not make, I need to fix this. I'm sorry, ignore the N. Why not make a viewing date? We are archived online. That would have been so much more powerful if that N hadn't been there. And you can contact me at any time at jharrison@arcnj, the Arc of New Jersey.org. If you have questions, comments, anything, I will be here to answer all of them. And thank you so much. Take care.